Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant. Today we are at the next topic, that is we are going to cover the French defense as black. We have been doing that in the past and today we are going to cover the next line of Tarrasch variation and we will see the F4 Tarrasch, one of the most popular lines at higher level. Although nowadays NC3 is much more popular. So let's get into the line of F4 Tarrasch. This is preferred by many strong players. Let us see how we reach that position. And today will be a basic and an introductory lesson to understand the plans for both sides. E4, E6, D4, D5 and D2 makes it the Tarrasch variation played by Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch. And NF6 line we are preparing. We are ignoring the line C5 here and D takes E4. E5 main move, and after ND7 F4 we get into the proper F4 Tarrasch. The other main line here is BD3, which we have already covered in our previous lessons. Firstly, what does white want with the move F4? See, he overprotects the pawn E5. E5 is an important point, and behind this center E5, F4, D4, white wants to get his pieces knight to F3, BD3, C3, castle, and once he is developed, he has the better center, and as it is always said, a side with a superior center can develop a king side attack. Okay, but here what is happening? White is spending a lot of pawn moves here and black already becomes somewhat ahead in development. Plan for black being always attack the base of the pawn chain. Here we have the pawn chain E5, E6, D4 and D5. So the head of the pawn chain is E5 and base of white's chain is D4. Same way base of black's is F7 and head is D5. So black starts with C5 and he wants to break this chain. Now I will show you what happens if white doesn't play C3. That is today's main concern, and then we will revert to the main line why white plays C3 to some extent today itself. So let's see first if knight df3 is played. Of course knight df3 because we want to protect d4 with knight ge2 next move. So nc6, ne2, qb6, black has put 3 attacks on d4 and white has 3 supports. So white doesn't want to play c3, he wants to plant his knight on d4. So he can wait with g3. Very common move in this opening. Bishop often wants to come to h3 and pressurize e6 because black wants f6. See how the plans are used. Seeing the other person's idea, the opponent reacts. This is called prophylaxis. So c takes d4, n takes d4, n d4. If q d4, then direct bc5. So n d4. Even then there is bc5. And now see, white has to hold the knight with c3, be3 allows qb2. So c3, and now black wants f6. Instant f6 might cause some problem. There could be bb5, pinning the knight on d7. So first a6, white goes rook b1 trying b4. Black just ignores with castle. b4 will be met by just bishop takes d4. And you can note that after q d4, knight c5 and the knight may jump to the e4 square. That is a possibility. Or else steadying queen d4, cd4, knight b6, and you will see that the c1 bishop becomes a bad bishop over there. So bh3, stopping f6, black goes king h8, and now white shouldn't castle here because e5 is becoming weak. The diagonal a7, g1 is weak also. So he goes king f1, although king f1 is not good. There comes f6, king g2, removing the king from the f5. And now see, black has a combination here based on the weakness of f2. This is a very common motive. We will see this time and again. Knight e5, fe5, fe5. Knight is given up for 2 pawns and the rook enters the f2 square. Only way to stop that is nf3. But then e4, knight d4 and another kick with e5. See, the knight is now forced to go away. So after knight b3, there is rook f2 check, winning on the spot. So first bishop c8 forced, and now see, ed is good, but rook c8 is way more stronger because after nb3, rook f2, rook enters, kh3 forced, and here I was trying to calculate this line. I got till the move e3, knight c5. Do note that queen h5 should be a main move, but after qe6, qg4, there is rf5, very strong move, threatens h5 and black is winning. So knight c5 covering the e6 square, but then see queen h6 check, kg4, and the brilliant move rook c5. I in fact missed the move rook c5. Rook c5 threatens rook c4 check. Only move b3, and see here we can play q e6 check amongst many other things. King is badly stuck on h4. See the poor placing of the king. Black has many good moves. h6 g5 is there, queen f6 check is there, and it's a winning position of course. Also if black wishes, he can do rook c3 covering the e3 pawn. So this was a game example which we took, trying to prove the point that c3 is necessary. So white goes here c3, and now see white has a very strong center, but he has played a lot of pawn moves. So black tries to develop quickly and c6, and now see ndf3 is the main line. We'll briefly touch it today. Let's look at the move ngf3, which is another way to protect. But here what happens, the d2 and the f3 knight c, they come in each other's path. So f6 instantly breaking both the head and the base of the pawn chain, and see after bd3 there is a tactic for black. Can you spot? F takes c5, f takes c5, cd cd knight d4, using the diagonal e1 h4. After nd4 queen check d3 qd4. Sometimes white gets play with nf3, but here see it's too slow, because after nf3 black has bb4 check. See in all the three departments, king safety, material and activity, black is clearly better. bd2 loses on the spot to qe3, trades on d2, and e5 is lost. And let's say after king f1, then castle, and you can make out rook f3 is on the cards, rook f3 followed by e5. So devastating position for white, you can say. Thus ndf3 is the main move. Now black goes with the standard move qb6, pressurizes d4, and here white has choice of 5 moves. See, each has different idea. Main line being g3, just white ignores, and he wants to do bishop h3 and continue his development. This happens to be the main line. Other moves include knight h3, once again developing the knight. Knight often wants to go to f2. Other moves are ne2 protecting d4, then g3 is played later on. This knight can be put to c3. Next is the move a3, trying to play b4. White wants space everywhere. And finally the move h4, which prevents black's main counter-attacking move g5. We will see this thematic break time and again. The lines become very sharp and complex. So I hope you liked this lesson. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.